the CEO of the incredible Elie Saab brand. Welcome again to Seabreeze.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. You know what I want to start with before we talk about yesterday's event, which was such a jewel for Seabreeze, a gift, I would say, and this partnership. And we'll talk a little bit about everything. But I want to start from the beginning. Beirut, 1982.
Yes.
Your father, Mr. Elie Saab Sr.
Yes.
has started something incredible, a long journey, which now, transformed into a few generations. Tell me about how it started.
My father started in 1982, in the midst of the war, with very difficult time. He came from a middle-class family. Humble beginnings. And actually, the region where he lived was the first region that was hit by the war. So they were taken by surprise. So they had to flee, leave their place to go to find refuge. And then they found refuge in another neighborhood. And he started designing out of necessity. He was only 14, 15 years old, starting by taking the drapes, doing of the house, doing clothes with them. Of course, his mom and parents were not for the idea because at the time...
How do you monetize it?
How do you monetize it? And at the time in Beirut, the industry, there was no industry, there was no
fashion.
No fashion.
The entire Middle East.
In the whole Middle East, it's like, no, if you had to be something, you had to be a doctor or an architect or something of this sort.
Means to have a real job.
A real job at the time. And he saw that he could monetize this. He could start with family, friends. Then in the GCC, went all over the GCC, all the royal families of all the different countries of the Gulf. And then he saw that actually he needed to expand internationally. And in the mid-90s, he did his first show in Italy, in Rome. And from there on, he started expanding worldwide. But of course, when he arrived in Europe, in Italy, he arrived with an established clientele, an established brand, brand name.
In that particular region.
In that particular region. So he did not start as a young designer. And of course, he had to face a lot of challenges. He had to face a lot of challenges from the European community, saying, who is this Arab coming to show amongst us? Of course, at the time, it was not common.
It was nonsense.
So he had to overcome a lot of challenges. And in the early 2000s, he said, for me to be able to succeed as a haute couture house, as I would imagine, and the vision that I have, is he needed to go to Paris. And in Paris, he went. He started to show, and of course, he was even more strongly criticized in Paris because it is a much...
You're an outsider.
An outsider,
Paris
and you
is
know
the capital of fashion.
How picky they can be with how they see
the
outsiders.
French are not easy.
French are not easy, to say the least. But of course, this did not stop him. So he kept on persevering.
He challenged him.
He challenged them. He kept on persevering to show his vision, to position himself as a true couturier. Of course, then he was invited as a member of the Chambre Syndicale of the haute couture, and then a prominent member in 2006. And of course, since then, we developed the house beyond haute couture, expanding into ready-to-wear, into retail, then interior design, furniture, monostore, and full expansion. Today, the brand is distributed in more than 150 countries, with around 35,000 points of sales between the perfume, the ready-to-wear, the haute couture, and the different other lines. We have diversified as well our portfolio into lifestyle, interior design, furniture, and we still believe that we are in year one. After all this time, today, 2026, has been and will be the best year in Elie Saab's history. But for us, when we think about 26, is year one in the bigger plan that we have
on a bigger scale,
for the future.
with a bigger ambition. Well, it's interesting.
With God's will.
Very similar conversation with Konstantin Bushman, the CEO and owner of the Brabus brand. Different business, obviously, cars, and but he's also in development now. And he said, I'm treating my business now as the starting point. What my father has built over time, established the brand and established certain paths of development for the brand. But at the moment, I think that the world globalized and things have changed. It's a modern society. It's a quicker changing world. It's a year one for me.
Yes.
In my lifetime, and I see a lot of resemblance in that sense.
Yeah, we share a lot of the same family values.
I think so. I think I'm joining the team.
And yourself, of course, with Konstantin. No, honestly, he has had a great journey as well.
Elie, tell me the following. The first success, real success in global exposure, as far as I know the story, aside from all the work that your father has done for pretty much 20 years until 2002, were the Oscars. Was it like the big exposure for the brand globally, or that's what you read in the press?
I think, of course, that Oscar moments in 2002 was an important milestone. And this allowed to push the brand more of a household name. But of course, if my father had not worked on having the right foundation, the right foundation for the brand, the right product, etc., then it would be just a media stunt.
Exactly. Media stunt is a perfect name for it.
Considering that
it wouldn't be real.
It wouldn't be real, but considering all the work he has done to prepare the foundation of the brand, and at the end that is driven through real product and the philosophy of product, so product first. Then the media around the Oscar moment help amplify the work and the brand that has done, which allowed the brand to take a next step following this. But if the foundation was not ready, then for sure it would just be a media stunt.
It wouldn't have any
but for
substance
sure,
behind
it helped push the brand as a household name. In Europe, in the rest of the world, it was a massive exposure.
Well, fashion houses, I know that LVMH has tried to create a fashion house from scratch. I don't remember the name of the brand, but it hasn't worked. I think in today's world, it's almost impossible to create a new brand. It needs history, it needs heritage. And I think what your father was right on the border, because the brand is now 44 years old. That's, almost 5 decades of heritage, of evolution, of the whole process. So to do something like this today, if you would ask your father, do you think it's possible to create a new brand today and become one of the leaders of the fashion world?
I think today to build a brand is different than what it meant to build a brand 45 years ago. But what is for sure is that there is a place for authentic brands and authentic visions to come to life today. It's how you bring them to life that will differ. How you position yourself as someone that is delivering a message that is unique of its kind, that differentiates you from others, but at the same time that has a true philosophy and a true product beyond a trend-driven brand. Because of course
trend-driven
today,
brands,
a trend-driven brand
they
is
come up and fade away
what
quickly.
we saw over the past years, coming up and down. But today, if you have a philosophy and you're able to enable
and stick to it,
but enable this philosophy through the modern communication tools without falling into the trap of trend, then you can build something as a medium and long-term brand. But of course, it is totally different, because also today that the trend around the world is heritage and heritage brands with quality and true quality. And this is very important. And this is also positions us as a brand in the right moment to be able to offer what people want today, because we are a brand that has a product philosophy, so product first, quality, craftsmanship, vision, and that have always been true to the woman we like to serve. We never changed positionings. We never pretended to be something we are not. In the contrary, And I think this is what people are appreciating more and more about the brand.
Of what you're offering, yeah, for
Exactly.
sure, for sure. And when did you get involved into this family business? You are the oldest of the three brothers, correct?
Yes.
How many siblings altogether in your
We are
generation?
we are three brothers.
Three brothers?
Yes.
No sisters?
No sisters.
So you're three brothers, you're the eldest, but the difference in age is 2 or 3 years between each one
Yes,
of you.
yes.
So you're pretty close in the sense
we're
that...
quite close.
Yeah, and I met both brothers,
Yeah.
and they're super cool,
You know,
super laid back.
They are amazing. Honestly, I'm very lucky to have brothers like them. They are fantastic people that really a lot of heart, a lot of passion as well in what they are doing. And what is nice about us three is that each one complete the other in many ways, and this is very important.
All three are working together.
We work close to each other. So basically, each one is in a different unit. So not all of them are working in the core business. So my brother manages our family office. So all our investment outside of
But it's still
Elie
part of the
Saab,
family
it
business.
is part of the family business. And my younger brother today lives in Geneva. He had his own entrepreneurial journey, and he might join us soon in the group. But what is very important is that my family and my parents brought us up with a lot of love. And that love today is reflected in the relationship that we have between us as brothers. And this is a very important value. It's like unconditional love and meaning of family, respect.
So
all
you're
of
not
that.
dividing anything. There's a lot of family businesses that just get chopped into pieces.
No.
That's like the worst thing that could happen, I think, to a family business.
Of course.
There should be somebody kind of heading the whole process, but everybody should be on the same page.
Of course, because
it's
our
not the
vision,
push and pull process.
our vision for the family business is that, first of all, we don't consider ourselves as a pure family business, but we are a family-owned business. And this is very important. Any person that would have a role in the organization, it would be by merit first. And that's very important. And our key principle and our key objective is to see the sustainability of this brand in the future. So to make sure, how do we ensure that the continuity of the Elie Saab brand name in the future, and as long as it can possibly last.
Maintain it.
But as well, it's easy to maintain, but how do you maintain and grow while preserving the core values of how the brand started?
So this is a challenge.
This
It's a
is the
balance
challenge,
that
because you can maintain in name, but then maybe in 20, 30 years, which is the perspective we think about and even more, it will remain, but not with the same values that we have today. So this is an important and fundamental part of how we approach and how we look at the future of the business.
Well, since I think you're carrying a double burden because you're Elie Saab Jr., you carry the name of the brand as well. So that puts an extra strain, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a responsibility.
It is
sure.
a responsibility.
If you're thinking about buying a home by the sea or making a smart investment, now is the perfect time to discover Seabreeze. For citizens of Azerbaijan, we offer a hybrid mortgage with rates starting from 7%, plus our 2x VAT promotion. For international buyers, there's an interest-free installment plans for up to 48 months with just a 10% down payment, available until August 31st. These offers are available for Garden Residence, Palm Beach, and Phase 1 of Prime Residence, 3 beachfront projects nearing completion. Use the promo code SBINVEST26 to learn more about your personalized offer. See you at Seabreeze.
When did you become the CEO?
I've become CEO officially in Jan 2019.
2019, but you worked before.
I worked before, of course. I remember working in the family, in the business with my father as far as I can remember. I remember since I was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years
You were
old,
always around.
accompanying my father anytime I could. So after school, I would want to go to the atelier. During holiday, I would like to spend time with him and accompany him anywhere instead of playing with friends, etc. For me, I didn't have particularly important hobbies other than accompanying my father and hearing how things are happening and being with him.
And how he thinks, how he makes decisions.
And he involved me a lot as well.
That's very important.
He allowed me also to be part of any meeting, from the most serious board meeting to the...
I had a similar experience with my father. So I think that's very helpful.
Of course.
It gives you experience much earlier than you start working.
It is very important.
At some point, your father... you started working. Obviously, you know your way around because you've been there since you were a child, pretty much.
You know the story because you relate a lot to.
100%. But at some point, there's a conversation between father and son, or father and sons, where he sits you down and he says, listen, I want you to head this officially. Here's the steering wheel. I'll be near, but now it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Listen, it happened... At one point in 2018, the business was going through some financial difficulty because of some decisions of the past. That
well, it happens. Any big business
of course, any entrepreneurial business goes
issues,
ups and downs, etc. And in 2018, I sat with my father actually, and I shared with him a plan I had to help us come out of this situation. He told me, "Are you sure about this plan?" I said, no. Can I be sure?
In business, there are no guarantees.
Exactly, but I said, worst case scenario, we'll come back to where we are today. So allow me to try. I was 27 at the time, and it was a very big burden to carry. But I said, you know what? If I have to do it, and I want to try to do it, and I will put everything I can and everything I know and all the energy I have to make sure that I do it and I succeed in doing it. It was not easy. It was a lot of work. So between 2019 and 2021, and then COVID came, I had to really prove that this plan can work. By 2021, post-COVID, the year post-COVID, we had restructured the whole organization from a ownership level, from an organizational level, from a financial level, and managed to restart a new expansion plan that started to deliver results, important growth, and important profitability. And since then, the company grew 6 times.
Wow.
Until 2020.
That's in how many years?
6, 7 years.
6, 7 years. Wow. Yeah. People, I think our audience should understand that any success doesn't come easy in any field. The fashion industry, car industry. I mean, there's no guarantees in business. It's always a risk. You're always volatile because there's COVID, these are the geopolitical even risks that you cannot put in your financial model and say, okay, let's take this into account.
COVID gave us, at the time, was time. Time while the world was on pause, it allowed
exposure
us,
what you're doing.
Exactly. It allowed us to really accelerate the restructuring plan and to work more in depth and make sure that we are ready for the next phase. Of course, at the time during COVID, you were working, but you had no visibility where the world was going to go.
Clients haven't had access to you. So
sometimes we were launching products, preparing for product launches, but there was no one to hear us out because the markets were closed.
There was no launch.
There was
physically.
We're doing things, and today COVID seems like a long time ago. But
6 years. Yeah.
But at the time, we all know that everyone imagined that the world we would come back to was never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Because of how things were happening. But I had this belief that it was important to prepare and to invest the time, to invest also in infrastructure during those difficult times, so that when the world is ready, to be able to
come back stronger.
To come back stronger with a more efficient business model and with a plan that today we managed to accomplish. Because in 2020-21, we put a plan that when I showed this plan to people, they told me, you are crazy. How would you even imagine to achieve such objectives?
Numbers, yeah.
And of course, we overachieved the plan. And thanks to the trust that my father put in me, today we managed to deliver, and we have built this trust. He has built this trust in me that allows me today to
make decisions
and also complement each other's capacities.
Yeah, fantastic. like your youngest brother now is trying his own entrepreneurial journey, as you put it. If your kids finish college and they decide to try something different, let's say music industry, I don't know, film industry, would you be supportive in that sense?
Of course, of
So
course.
go try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't,
Yeah,
this door is always open.
It's open or not, it's a different conversation, because the door of our kids joining the organization will only be by merit and not because they can. And this is very important. And this is also something I learned from my father, my parents. It's about merit. And for me, the most important priority is to be able to always have a choice as a family owning this business, to have and to be able to have the choice in our hands. We are working fundamentally to build strong foundation for this organization so that this organization can always have the choice to lead its own path rather than to be forced to take decisions that might not be healthy for a brand, for instance.
So the structure is the key to a long-term success.
Of course. And this strong foundation will allow, maybe my kids will not be interested in the business, or the third generation or my nephews will not be interested in the business. If there is any chance that the third generation might ruin this brand name that we have worked so hard to maintain and to sustain, if there's any risk on this brand name, of course,
we're not going to take
it. At the end, we see a lot of organizations that are run in a very institutional way and doesn't need to have all the family members in the business to say it's right. In the contrary, it might be more difficult for the business and for the brand to have family members in than out.
Sometimes it's a disadvantage.
My father, when I was quite young, told me, it's much cheaper for me to pay you a salary for you to stay at home than to come to work. It's much cheaper because at the end, the damage you can do while you're in is much more expensive.
I call it pension. Some of my relatives deserve a pension and not be involved in any processes because it's just deteriorating.
Of course.
100% agree. Listen, Elie Saab is one of the most luxurious names in the fashion industry. Like, that's my perspective. Obviously, I'm not an expert, although I did work in the fashion industry for 2 decades, for 20 years, in my father's family business. But Elie Saab always...
No, you are an expert, I mean. You're just being also very humble.
I'm now in development. I forgot about the fashion industry. It was, especially, I would say, in the past 25 years, since the beginning, they're achievable brands, approachable brands, and they're brands that are super high. Like, not to compare, but it's very hard to approach Louis Vuitton and Chanel to get them to open something somewhere. There's a 5-year thinking time, and it's a long process. And Elie Saab, for me, always had the same image. Like, it's very tough. Possible collaboration for any country. And I was working out of Russia at that time. Do you agree with me that in the fashion industry, to maintain that status of ultra luxury, incredible, you have to be a difficult partner for your fashion partners in different regions?
Difficult is not really the right word. You have to be cautious, because any step that you take might be could be detrimental for the brand's success.
It could hurt the brand
in the future. So
not the right partner in the region.
Not the right partner, not the right location, not the right space, not the right management. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong. That's why we need to be extra cautious on how we develop and we roll out. That's how I would position it, and this is how we approach the business, in a cautious and ambitious way. So how do you manage to be ambitious but yet cautious at the same time is the balance to make, at least for us, because you named a lot of brands that are today mega brands. Today we are still a human-sized brand that has very important ambitions of the future, but at the same time we know the risks of overexpanding or expanding in the wrong way, in wrong categories. So we put all these learnings today and we are very realistic about our position in the market and how we want to approach the rollout that we have in mind for the different markets. So it is always a very balanced conversation that you need to have, and you need to weigh out a lot of things. But at the same time, to survive as a brand in our positioning today, you cannot not be agile and entrepreneurial. And this is something that we have from within. We are people that are adaptable. We are people that are resilient by nature, because also from the region we came in and all the challenges we faced as a brand, and managed to grow even with all the challenges that we faced. So this built a lot of resilience and strength, and the ability to overcome any difficult situation.
Well, those balances, you know, it's always, I always thought that when you have a big name, you can commercialize it, but you could really damage the name.
Of course.
Especially if you follow for short-term numbers, which would give you fantastic income. You can, you know, X20 your yearly, but in the end of the day, fast growth always has a back end to it. It's a danger zone. I agree with it. But coming to my main question, you still decided to go into development. Mm-hmm. When did that idea come on board?
Well,
and how?
Actually, in the midst of COVID, and just before that, in 2019, so we collaborated with corporate brand to translate the Elie Saab vision into furniture. And this was a very important turning point for the brand.
That was in 2019.
2019, we have launched the first branded real estate project with Amar in Dubai. And before that, we were very much approached by different developers from around the world to do Elie Saab branded towers, etc., etc.
Villas, towers, townhouses,
we always
whatever.
declined, because at the time, we did not have the furniture line and the interior design concept well defined to be able to translate it with any developer, because it's not about putting Elie Saab on a building.
You're not putting the name.
And the name. We are coming in with a philosophy, with an interior design.
Usable items.
With interior design, with the furniture that is real, etc. So when we have started the reflection on the interior design line, it coincided with when Amar approached us. And the first tower that we have launched in 2019 was furnished and designed by Elie Saab Maison. So when people saw it, understood, okay, this is Elie Saab Maison. It's not just Elie Saab putting his name on a building, because this is completely against our philosophy. Because when we collaborate with developers from around the world.
Your DNA has to be implemented into every piece of the idea of the building.
But the DNA, not of the haute couture, of the furniture and the lifestyle and the interior design that we have nurtured over the years. Because today, Elie Saab Maison was launched in the midst of COVID in 2020 in Milan, which was one of the cities that was the most hit by COVID. And I remember we opened the Salone del Mobile, there was no one. I say, what are we doing? How is this business going to sustain? But of course, we have built an amazing partnership with our partners that has a great expertise into the interior design world. And also, they managed to be resilient, to believe in the brand and what the brand can do. And we overcome a lot of the challenges.
They sustained the slow times.
Yeah. And 2021, we started seeing a much better productivity and a very high demand for the business. From 2019 till today, we've launched over 30 projects in different capitals of the world. So, of course, Asia, Europe, Middle East, America, South America, North America soon. So we are present in all the capitals of the world. And this is very important to note, because today it shows how global the identity that we have developed is interior design.
Identity,
it is not
the whole package.
Regional. It is global and adaptable, because today you can come in with a certain taste, and furnish your home, whole home with Elie Saab, and someone else from a completely different region, with
Part
a
of the globe
completely
even, yeah.
different culture, with a completely different type of aesthetic, can do the same while feeling, wow, it has the same identity, same DNA, same values, same craftsmanship, but yet adaptable to different tastes. We've worked with the northern countries, Northern Europe countries, which are very minimalistic in the way they approach things. And of course, the GCC country, which is a bit of a different taste.
A bit more flashy.
But all of them look good, and all of them look like Elie Saab Maison. And this is very important. Last year in Salone del Mobile in Milan, because also the showroom expanded. We started in Via Sant'Andrea with a 200, 300 square meter showroom, which is
tiny for furniture.
But a jewel box. And 2 years ago, we expanded into a new showroom with over 1,000 square meter in showroom spaces alone.
That's in Milan.
In Milan, in the design district of Milan.
Oh, wow.
So in the heart of Milan, it's like an old Milanese palazzo. Last year, during Salone del Mobile, we had 20,000 guests coming to visit the showroom.
Wow.
20,000 guests coming over a week. So this shows that the appetite of the brand in Maison is becoming stronger and stronger and wider as well. So of course, initially we were targeting a lot the developers, today the architects, and now the end user, which is an important sign of success. And Elie Saab Maison, in the last Savills report, we are in the top 3 branded real estate residences of the world. So because of the number of projects that we have done, but also the number of projects we have delivered successfully. So these two components are important.
Well, you didn't mention, because among all the regions and countries, you chose to be part of the Azerbaijani development.
Of course, of course.
And I want to thank our mutual, very close friend of mine, Orhan Mustafaev, who has introduced us. And we ended up being all partners of one project.
Of course.
And yesterday we had the groundbreaking ceremony, which I thought was a very cool event, because we hosted it, and Orhan and I had this conversation. We hosted it at the project he just finished, also in partnership with Seabreeze, which is the Marina Village with a beautiful marina that we built together with already some yachts, some sailboats, and it just creates a vibe of how from scratch on empty land you can create an environment.
It gives you a taste of where all of this is going.
Yes, 100%. And from the first moment he approached me and said, there's a potential to do Elie Saab, maybe villas, maybe an apartment complex. We didn't know what it's going to be yet. And I guess you were having at the time this conversation with Orhan for a while. It's been like a couple of years, I think. And I always said, Orhan, since you are the managing partner, figure it out and then come explain it to me. But I definitely support the idea, because this, I think, is going to be a great addition to what we're trying to do, not just in Seabreeze, but for Azerbaijan in general. I always believe bringing, noble residencies, Cipriani Casa, all the Marriotts and Hiltons and Radissons and Hyatts and Swiss hotels. Every brand has its philosophy, has its approach, and like every restaurant or any fashion brand. But if you put everything in one location, everybody benefits. Your residents, tourists, because you don't need to get into a car to drive from, a future Bulgari residence to a Cipriani restaurant, like you do in Dubai, for instance, right? Here in Seabreeze in Azerbaijan, you get in a golf car, you walk, and it's all in one location. So within 3, 4, 5 years, this is going to be a beauty. And the way we ended up together choosing a location, our iconic Half Moon Island, is where the concentration of entertainment, gaming industry, and fashion, and good food, and good brands, and the fashion mall is on one side, and on the other side you have the beautiful Elie Saab development.
Now, first, to build on what you said, and for us, of course, when we look at any project, a fundamental part and one of the most important components is the partner, and entrusting our brand to, because this is a make or break situation.
Yeah, and it's your hands and legs on the territory.
100%. And of course, Orkhan is a fantastic person that we mutually know, and we know how committed he is to deliver important projects and flagship projects around the world. And when we spoke a lot about the vision that you have, what is unique about this project is that it is part of the future of a city that has a lot of heritage. So here, how we're mixing the heritage and the culture and how we're inspired by the heritage and culture of the city, but taking it into the future. And the vision that you had for Seabreeze is phenomenal. And this gives us a lot of comfort to be part of an ecosystem, as you said, an ecosystem with a very solid and strong vision to the future. And not a lot of people can understand this unless they see it. But we, because of the time we spent together, because of how Orkhan shared with us a lot of the plans you had for the place, it is a very ambitious plan. But to see it come to life and in reality here,
And quite quickly.
you see that this vision will not only be a vision. It is a vision that is built by a dreamer that does.
Yes.
And this is...
There are a lot of visionaries that, they see it, but they can't figure out how to
And we
execute.
see how you're
We
on the
actually have a
ground,
plan.
following every detail, following every aspect of everything. And we know how dear this vision it is to you. So, of course, we're not only taken by the ambition you have, but about how you're able to bring it to life.
Thank you.
We can see it.
And we promise to be great partners and get this up to the perfect standard, because in the end of the day, I have a little bit more responsibility for the whole thing, because these are real people that are buying these apartments, living here, and I see them here on the streets of Seabreeze. So the way I try to influence my team with all the team building conversations, I say, listen, we have to make sure, because when I'm not around, they're going to come to you if they don't like something. We have to make sure people like everything. Boss, it's impossible. I said, let's at least try.
And you are living here.
Using and living.
It's
and
the
not
biggest,
just me. My wife, kids, Orkhan is living here with his family.
Yeah. For us, this is the biggest guarantee.
We want this to be successful and comfortable.
When I meet developers, one of the first questions I ask, will you live in this town? Because if they tell me yes, it means that, of course...
I promise I'll own an Elie Saab apartment in our...
I know, it's in the contract.
Yes.
Need to promise.
And the same for Orkhan. A question of the topic. Private jets. Can we talk about it?
Of course.
You guys are the first luxury fashion brand initially that decided to do a jet.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. How that idea came around and what's the plan?
We've had long conversations with the Bombardier team for quite some time, because we personally use their planes, and we always are in touch with the management, and we always have discussions together. And we've been discussing a potential collaboration to do interior design for quite some time. And after our expansion into the interiors and the track record we have developed into interiors, our goal is to go beyond just furnishing or designing interiors for homes or buildings with developer, is to be able to take this identity in any form.
Any space.
2024, we designed the interior of the first yacht that we did with the Mayora, a 42-meter yacht.
42 meter.
They already sold 3 hulls.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're very excited about that. And this is what we wanted. We wanted to design a yacht that we could see on the sea, in front of Seabreeze, hopefully.
100%. Our marina can cater 45 meters.
Of course,
It's gonna be
of
great.
course.
You have pictures? We got to add pictures to the podcast.
About the 42, yes, for
Okay,
sure,
excellent,
of course.
excellent. Have you used that yacht for yourself?
Not yet, not yet. It's being built now.
Share the experience when you do.
Of course, and it's quite unique in the way it was designed, and it's a new way of 42, because all the guest rooms are on the main
Upper deck? Oh,
the
okay.
main deck. So,
not
the
in the
crew
basement, yeah.
are on the lower deck, and the entertainment space is on
Up
the
above.
upper deck.
Okay, cool.
So
Because usually the audience, for those that haven't seen a 42-meter yacht, usually the master bedroom is only on the
here we
main
have
floor.
all the bedrooms on
and
the
then
on
the
the
guest
main
bedrooms are usually in the basement.
Yeah.
on the lower floor.
Here we have all the the bedrooms on the main deck, and then on the upper deck it opens two terraces. So you have you have the terrace
The
of
back
the
terrace
front and the back,
front.
and the middle you have the cabin with the living room, dining room, etc. So it's quite
front terrace is rare. Boats
it's-
usually don't have a front
It's
terrace.
amazing. The
And
front
open it.
terrace is connected to the back terrace. So from the front terrace you can see the end of
so you can open it all up.
all
so
up.
basically it's an open floor.
It's an open floor. It's
Amazing.
amazing, and then you still have a sun deck on
It's
top.
very smart.
So very interesting.
When is it going to be built?
It's being built as we speak.
And finish time?
Finish time in 27.
27 next
we
year.
will deliver. Yes,
Next year.
should be the end of 27.
And
we
the
deliver.
first jet, when is that coming?
27 as well.
As well as 20.
End of 27, beginning of 28,
Amazing.
we deliver the jet. We revealed the interior design. We revealed that in the Monaco Grand Prix. This Monaco Grand Prix.
And the partner is Bombardier.
The partner is Bombardier. It's the first time Bombardier collaborates directly with the brand to develop this Elie Saab spec or a special designed interior. So we work very closely with Bombardier team.
But question, for boats it's understandable. For jets you also have to use special materials.
Very special.
Was that a difficult
Of
process
course,
to execute?
it was part of the challenges to make sure we are able to use as many as certified materials, but all put together in an Elie Saab aesthetic and an Elie Saab way.
So
we have introduced new materials.
You were
as well.
limited to some materials.
We were sometimes limited, and sometimes we certified the new materials. So, for example, the marble that we use in the plane is a Brazilian marble, is a Patagonia marble. That has never been put on a plane because there are specificities, because you have to cut the marble to a specific width and thickness. And you need to make sure that once you cut it, it does not break.
Oh, okay.
So we needed to make
it's
sure.
not thin enough.
Yeah. So
for
there's
it to sustain.
many things like that we had to do. But today, if you look at the cabin is quite unique for its size.
We'll show pictures if you
have
supply us.
two configurations. One haute couture configuration and one more practical configuration. So the haute couture configuration has less capacity, of course. So it's made more for comfort, leisure. So you have around 9 packs in capacity. So we removed 9 people. So you have a total of 9. The other one has 16 to 18, depending on the configuration you choose. We wanted also to have special features. So you have a walk-in closet in the jet. So for the size of the plane, it has never been done before.
Yeah, for that size.
A bedroom, a walk-in closet, nice lounge area.
For our audience, first of all, we launched the groundbreaking ceremony yesterday for Elie Saab. These apartments, very special apartments at Seabreeze, are available for pre-order, order. So we're in sales already. So people can actually come to Seabreeze, check them out. What are your wishes and recommendations for our potential future residents, clients and tourists that will come to Azerbaijan and consider whether they buy a Cipriani Casa or a Brabus apartment or maybe an Elie Saab complex they choose for themselves? Tell us what our advantages is not the right word. What are cool features that make this a very special apartment for you to reside in?
I think in general, I hope that everyone will not have to choose and can have one of each.
That's a very smart one.
But in the case they have to choose, and I looked at most of the projects, I would choose the Elie Saab project, not because it's Elie Saab, because it fits a lot of the requirements I would look for in an apartment.
And I love the architecture of the exterior.
The architecture is unique, and I'm actually discussing with Orkan to probably book 1 unit for ourselves.
100%.
So for me, I loved it so much, and I love the place so much because the facilities, the amenities.
So it's a couple times a year.
The best spa in the region, the biggest spa facility in the region. Today we had Russian banya. It was amazing experience.
But what you're doing is different.
But the philosophy of the spa in the region comes from the traditional philosophy of taking care of yourself,
Yes.
taking the time to take care of
It's
yourself.
a 3-4 hour
And,
procedure.
of course,
I hate it. I'm
yeah.
Russian, but I don't. It's not my thing.
In general, we have kids. You have facilities for kids, facilities for adult, easy accessibility to everywhere.
And a beautiful view on a half moon island.
I mean, honestly, it's quite unique.
I think because we didn't mention, we have another partner in the project. His name is Andrea. He's our Italian friend, who is a huge developer worldwide. And I think the benefit of his partnership is the fact that he has a lot of international sales, because we're selling mostly for the locals. But Andrea is a great partner because he has clients all over the world that, they don't even need to come and see. They trust him. They know it. Plus, you put in a brand of Elie Saab, beautiful concept. We already sold a lot of units to the people that haven't even visited us yet, which gives this a lot of potential. So coming back to the question of owning apartments, I think we need one floor, Andrea, Orhan, myself, and then you have more brothers. So everybody needs an apartment. We've got to figure this out.
No, we definitely. Honestly, I think we should not do it in any other way.
We should do it.
And you know what is good is that this project, we've seen projects. And we've developed more than 30 projects. This project has the global standards and more.
And also, this is your 31st project
yes.
In general, but the 30 projects are where you can also perfection each area, each idea, each issue.
And we see.
And it evolves.
We see also the approach that you're having. Orkan, Andrea are not doing any compromise to deliver the best quality.
For sure. It has to be the best quality, because you can't sell an Elie Saab interior, exterior design with the name on the building and actually have low quality. I mean, it doesn't work like this.
Of course.
First of all, before we finish, I want to thank you for a very honest conversation. I think these podcasts, the reason I launched them is because I have an incredible, unique position. I'm not a professional interviewer. That's not my area of expertise. But I have access to amazing, super successful, super famous people of different industries, fashion, music, development. And within this unique position, I think having a friendly conversation, I can provide a platform where my guests can really be comfortable and honest. They're not waiting for any crazy question or personal question. But within this honesty, I think we're opening up a lot of interesting subjects about heritage, family, kids, parents, relationships, business. And this is why I think it's interesting. So
you're not a professional, but it's in your nature. So
thank you, Elie. You're too complimentary.
No, it is. But anyone that knows you know it's the case. So.
I want to say, fast forward 20 years. So you'll be in your 50s, and you would have had a family for a good 25 years by that time. Where do you see yourselves and your family business in 20 years?
And to stay true to ourselves and hopefully matching the ambitions that we have today and hopefully seeing them come to life.
Let's do this together. It's going to be fantastic in Sibir, Azerbaijan.
Hopefully in 25 years or more, we'll still be friends.
We'll be making more projects all over the world.
Exactly.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being open and honest.